Hi everybody, it's Kali Star with Earth Matters and Soup Sorceress, and I want to share with you a few tips for this week and also a little bit about winter season. And with winter, even though we're having a nice sunny winter day here in California, there are some nights where it gets too cold and then the farmers will lose crops due to the freeze. And that is a really big deal for them to lose so much of all that work that they put into it, right? And that's just one thing to consider about this season because it is a little challenging. What also makes it challenging in terms of what variety they're able to offer is that vegetables grow slower in the winter. And so a lot of the varieties that we see throughout the year, we can't get right now. So we're going to see more root vegetables, turnips, beets, and a lot of greens. And I love greens. I'm crazy about greens. So for me, it's amazing. And it really is a great time to make a lot of green soups and just like stay really super power healthy, good for your immune system, really strong with the greens. So this is that time. What is also amazing about this time of season is that it's cold out, right? It's a little gloomier. It's like the clouds are a little gloomy. It's kind of just a little bit of a darker time as far as the season goes. And so what makes me so happy is that citrus is the fruit that's in season during this time, and citrus reminds me of sunshine. And isn't it amazing how nature works, right? And the fact that we get these incredible citrus during a time where it's darker and colder. It reminds us of the sunshine, and when we're reminded of sunshine, things feel a little more cheerful. So one other thing that I love to do with citrus is to use the rind as much as possible because it brightens the flavors in whatever I'm cooking. Whether it's steaming or stir frying or a soup, anything that you're making, using that citrus rind really will help bring some cheerfulness to your dishes. What I also love to do is just to juice the citrus and sip on that throughout the week. And you can just mix them up. This week we have tangerines and mandarins. And then in the bigger size bundles, we have blood oranges. Recently we had these incredible cocktail grapefruit, and I had people telling me just how much they loved those. That's a very rare variety that Gene Etheridge grows. He only has, I think, a couple trees on those ones. So it is very rare. He really is reviving these trees that we don't see very often. It is a really incredible thing, and it's so important that we do that because we don't want to lose these varieties that we've had for so long that we're just missing out on because they're not in supermarkets. And the reason they're not in supermarkets is usually the way they look on the outside. Sometimes the skin just looks too funky to put it in a supermarket, or they just don't last as long. So when it's in a supermarket, it's got to last longer, it's got to stay on the shelf, but that's also why we miss out on these incredible heirloom varieties, right? So that's what I want to share about citrus. It really is a bit of sunshine on a rainy day, and I just absolutely love it. So I'm going to just share with you a few of the vegetables that we have this week and a few of my tips. We have Tat Soi, which is one of my favorite vegetables on the planet. So if you haven't had this before, don't feel intimidated. Just think about it as a cross between bok choy and spinach, but even better. So whatever you do with bok choy, go ahead and do with this, and just notice that the flavors are kind of nuttier and just really fantastic. And of course the color is one of my favorite things about it. So just steam it, do what you want with it. You don't have to use these stems if you don't feel like it. If you just want to cut off the green tops, there's plenty of it. Something else that I want to share this week is about vegetable broth, because vegetable broth is so good for us. It's so heartwarming, and it's such an incredible way to use the scraps of our vegetables. So if you weren't to use the stems in this one, you can put that aside for vegetable broth. We also have some leeks this week in the bigger bundles, which those leek tops are incredible for vegetable broth. We have broccoli rabe, and this is a really beautiful green bunch that is incredible in a stir fry. You can steam it or put it in soup if you want to, but I think a lot of people really love to stir fry this. It does have these little broccoli heads in it, and in some bunches will have more of it than others. Some of them will actually be flowering, the little beautiful yellow flowers. And so this is great. And also just these ends of these stems, that's also really good to put aside for vegetable broth. This is escarole. And some people think that it's lettuce, and then they feel like, oh, that's a bitter lettuce and kind of tough. Well, it's more like an endive, but not as bitter. It has that little bit of bitterness to it. It's a lot like frise. The texture is actually a little bit slimy and thick when you cook it. It's really amazing. I love this in soup the most. You can also steam this with white beans. You'll see online there's a lot of escarole recipes using white beans. They just pair really well together. And some people do eat this raw. It's not my favorite raw. I like it better cooked, but you can totally eat it raw and it'll be great. I think that for some people, it's just this end part, this little part here, that is just a little more bitter than the rest of it. So if you're not into that little bit of bitter, just use this end piece for broth and use the rest of the green bunch and you'll be happy. So I just use the whole thing, and I'm not a bitter fan at all, but I can handle this. This is good. I love escarole. So happy that we have it this week. I'm so excited about it. Another thing I want to share is about Salanova lettuce. This is the most gorgeous lettuce. I love it so much. And it's not as big as a lot of the lettuces that we get. So we really often try to get you guys the biggest heads of lettuce. Sometimes though, this is so refreshing because not only does it taste incredible, it looks gorgeous like a rose lettuce. It is really fun for me because I just chop the bottom part of it, and then the leaf is perfect size for my salad or just to stick in a sandwich. And it's just absolutely tasty and gorgeous. I love it. So I'm really excited that we have it this week. Also, a really great thing to do right now, give your greens some water before they go into the fridge. Anytime that I bring some roses home, I put them in water, and vegetables are the same way. Vegetables, when you put them in an ice cold bowl of water, they will perk up, and all of them are picked absolutely fresh, but it really does help them last longer in your fridge if you give them some water first. It's a really great idea. I want to share a little bit more about vegetable broth. It is such an amazing way to get more nutrients and minerals in your body. So whenever you get a chance to put aside some scraps, especially like we have baby leeks this week, and you can use those green tops to put aside for scraps for your broth. The way I like to do it is to break it down. I'll designate an organic cotton bag in my refrigerator for my vegetable scraps and then put them in the bag throughout the time that I have them available. And I'm just kind of like, instead of throwing them out, I can throw them in that bag in the fridge. And then when I have time, I can make a little vegetable broth batch. The thing about this is that you might not always have time to make the vegetable broth, and that's okay. But if you get in the habit of saving the scraps into that bag, it might seem ridiculous, but over time, that habit will make it very easy for you to cook yourself up some vegetable broth whenever you want. So if you do end up just throwing out those scraps, putting them in the compost, it's okay. But if you get in the habit of it, then over time you'll see that you'll benefit from it because it'll just be an easy habit. And then when you have time, you throw that into a pot, simmer it for a couple hours, strain it, put some salt and pepper in there. Also add your favorite herbs, some herbs from the garden, and there you go. You have a very easy vegetable broth, and you're making use of every little bit of your vegetables whenever you can, when it's possible. Thank you so much, everyone. If this video helped you at all, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and thank you so much for joining us on this journey of supporting local small organic farms. It is so good for our health and the health of the earth. I'm wishing you all a magical week, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.